Alright, hello everyone. I am Henry Gillens. I got top 16 in the remote duel regional this past weekend on August 7th, 2022, and I played Virtual World. So I didn't play Pure, I didn't play just Brave, I played a pile. And I ended up making this like a week or so before the event. And I decided to enter with it. So, my virtual world ratios are a bit weird in this because deck space is kind of tight. We played 46 cards. We were originally on 48, but we made a deck error, accidentally only putting 46 in, and so I played throughout the event with that error. And so here's the list. We have 3 Lulu, 3 Gigi, 1 Lalo, and 1 Yan Yan. Lalo is really bricky, which is why I put it down to 1. You obviously need its Reborn effect. That effect is super good. It enables a lot of combo. But this card just wasn't doing it for me at 2 and 3. I was seeing it too often. I didn't want to see it that often. I'd much rather see my other engines than see Lalo in my opening hand. And so I elected to put it at 1 because I'm not playing Desires or any of that stuff. I honestly could play Desires because the card advantage is nice, but I'm playing too many 1-ofs to play Desires. For Virtual World Spells and Traps, we're playing 3 copies of Kowloon, 2 copies of Qinglong, 2 copies of Chuche, and 1 copy of Zhuanwu. Ratios are standard except for Qinglong. 3 Qinglong was also just too bricky. Obviously, it changes my combo. I can't send 2 Qinglong during my first combo, but that's fine. I don't have a big issue with that. Because if anything, not doing that in my combo benefited me more. One Xiamen, 1 Deer Note, 1 Foxy Tune, 3 E-Telly. This is our Punk package. They're all 1-ofs because we're playing Brave stuff, so we never want to normal summon Xiamen, and I only own 1 Foxy Tune. I wouldn't even play it at 2 or 3 if I owned more. I think having it at 1 is just right. I think this whole thing being a 1-of is correct. You never want to open any of these cards. You only want to open the E-Tellys. Well, no, you don't really use your normal summon in this deck. I feel like Xiamen is just such a bad normal for us, especially because we're on the Brave engine. And speaking of the Brave engine, we play 2 Enchantress, 1 Griffin Rider, 3 Rite of Aramasir, 1 Fateful Adventure, and 1 Dracoback. So this is where one of our deck errors came in. We were supposed to be on 3 Enchantress. We were playing 2. Would I keep it at 2? I don't know. It felt good at 2. It feels good at 3. I feel like you could play either one. Like, it just depends on how many cards you're willing to play main. Like, I'm willing to play 47, play 3 Enchantress, like, but I'm also willing to play 46 and play 2. Like, it's definitely a good card at 3, it's definitely a good card at 2. It's a good card at 1, but you don't really want to play it at 1 because you don't see it often enough. Next up, we played 2 Symphonic Warrior Guitar and 1 Symphonic Warrior Guitarist. They're level 3 wins. Guitar is supposed to be a 3-of. I only own 2 copies of it, and so I was only able to play 2. Would I have played 3? Yes, absolutely. 100% of the time I would have played 3 copies of Guitar, but it is what it is. Next up, we have 1 Scythe, 1 Trick Clown, 1 Snow, 1 Breakthrough Skill. These are all Beatrice targets. Breakthrough skill is really good on the crackback. It allows you, usually when if people are able to play through your combo, they'll usually end on one, maybe two disruptions. Breakthrough skill usually breaks through either one or two of those, one of those disruptions, not two. Snow does the other. So like, there's never really a time where I wouldn't play breakthrough skill, to be honest. It's a brick, yes, but you play so many bricks already. That's why you play 46 cards, supposed to be 48, because then you won't run into your bricks as often. Next, for staple slots, 3 Ash, 1 Foolish Burial, and 2 Foolish Burial Goods. I'd drop Foolish Burial Goods, to be honest. I didn't like the card. It never unbricked hands at all this weekend. It never really did anything for me. I'd take out Foolish Burial Goods and maybe main deck DD Crows. But Foolish Burial Goods never came up good enough for me. I'd just remove it. And then 3 Harpy's Featherstorm. I played this card because it's funny. That's it. That's the only reason I played this card. But despite playing it because it was funny, it worked out just fine for me. Never hated seeing it in the opening hand. Always wanted to draw into it. You sided out game 2, going second. Like, I never had issue with this card. I fucking loved this card all weekend. Next, we have our extra deck. I made some weird decisions for the extra deck, but they worked out for me. 1 Geomathmech Final Sigma. Towers. Towers are really important this format. Um, and that's really the only reason I played this is because towers are super good. Played against Striker. Striker cannot beat Sigma Chuche Pass. They like, especially going into time, they can't beat this. Striker doesn't have an out to this card, and it was really nice. 1 Satellite Warrior. Uh, You'll see in a second why I play this. Being able to pop your opponent's back row is really good, especially if you can get it out during their turn. Never any issue with this card. 1 Baron de Fleur. Um, it's Baron. It's the best Synchro 10 in the game. If you can make Synchro 10s, you play Baron. That's just how it goes. I don't really know what else to say. 1 Virtual World QB Shen Shen. Shen Shen's an extremely important card. It's Virtual World, you gotta play their boss monster. Shen Shen is their boss monster. It hurts a lot of decks. It came up very helpful in the Salamangreat matchup and the Sky Striker matchup this weekend. It forced my opponent to Widow Anchor it. I chained Baron, they chained Widow Anchor targeting Baron. I chained Chuche, popping my own Baron so they couldn't negate my Baron, so my Shen Shen can't be negated. It worked out really well for me. They ended up losing 2 Widow Anchors to the banished pile, and then they proceeded to have to normal summon Ray, link off the Ray, and the Ray also got banished. So it just hit them really hard, and I would definitely turbo Shen Shen in that matchup more often. 1 Vermilion Dragon Mech. This card didn't come up at all this weekend. It's very droppable, very removable. I just like it because sometimes you end with extra pieces on board. It's nice to make Dragon Mech and then pop it with Baron to add extra follow-up. 1 Punk Dram Dragon Drive. This is what enables this deck to be as good as it is all of a sudden. This card coming out in Power of the Elements enabled so much this weekend. Every time I drew the Punk engine, I turboed this, I was able to add Lulu or dump Nian Yan to the grave. Both are amazing. 1 Shooting Riser Dragon. This is how you make Satellite Warrior. On your turn, you make Shooting Riser, you dump Scythe to the grave, you use Baron to Scythe lock them. This is now a level 2. This and Dragon Drive can make Satellite Warrior during your opponent's main phase, and you're guaranteed 2 pops because of Dragon Drive and Shooting Riser. It's really good. I highly recommend playing it, and you can also make Baron. Normally you want to make Baron, but Satellite Warrior comes up in all those back row heavy matchups. One Virtual World Beast Juju. This card's able to be taken out. The only reason I played it is because I play the Symphonic Warriors. Playing the Symphonic Warriors, they're both level 3. One of them is a tuner, one of them isn't. If you don't have access to a virtual name on board, you make Juju, and that gives you your name. One Stardust Charge Warrior, self-explanatory, this card's been a Virtual World staple for years. One Blackwing Nothung the Starlight. People don't like this card. People don't like it in Virtual World. People say to take it out. It's very important in this metagame to have a way to win in time. This was my way of doing so. I would never take this out of the deck. It's super important, super crucial. Keep this card in 100% of the time. Don't listen to what people say. People try to say, oh, it's bad, you shouldn't be winning in time in Virtual World. You're right, you shouldn't be winning in time in Virtual World. The thing is, sometimes your opponent forces you to have to win in time. That's just how matchups go in the current format. One Coral Dragon, again, Virtual World staple for years. So this is all the synchros that I play. Something you might notice is that I don't play Zulkin, I don't play Crystal Wing. I feel like those cards are extremely outdated at this point. Just being able to put up one monster negate with Crystal Wing while putting all your resources into Zulkin isn't worth it. It's super outdated. It may have worked a couple years ago. It's not going to work now. And that is all I have to say about synchros. Next up, we have our Xyzes. One Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. You can drop Zeus. I made Zeus one time all weekend. I feel like Zeus is like the most droppable card in this extra deck. Yeah, the only time I made it was when I activated Change of Heart, took my opponent's Baguska, and made Zeus with it. That was the only time I ever made Zeus, and I think you could take Zeus out. I personally am going to keep it in, just because when it does come up, it's very important. One Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. You play a lot of targets for this card. It's very crucial that you make it during your combo, and that's really all I have to say about it. Beatrice is just an overall really good card, card that should honestly be banned. Just being able to dump 2 cards to the graveyard whenever the fuck you feel like is a little overpowered. One Totem Bird. This is for Harpy's Featherstorm. Is this card droppable? Yes, 100%. But it also gives you a spell trap negate. The thing Virtual World has been missing, and has always been missing, is negates. This gives you the negate that you need. Throughout the tournament, sometimes I wish I had Breaksword in here, just because Breaksword's a bit of a bigger body, it can pop stuff. Breaksword was very helpful, would have been very helpful, but Totem Bird just showed up so often that Spell Trap Negate was so important, especially with how the meta is. Finally, one Cherubini. Yeah, people are going to question this. So, well, yes, you're locked out of links when you're using Virtual World cards. You play the Symphonic Warriors. Guitar is a 1-card Cherubini because Guitar summons out Guitarist, and Guitarist bounces Guitar back to the hand, which you can then normal summon Guitar. You then use Cherubini, you can send either Nian Nian or Water Enchantress of the Temple, and it guarantees your access to your Brave Engine. And this deck relies a lot on the Brave Engine at the moment, so. And finally, the side deck. Played 3 copies of DD Crow. Self-explanatory. DD Crow is probably the best hand trap in the game this format. I would bump DD Crow to the main over Foolish Burial Goods. And if you wanted, you could take out Featherstorm for DD Crow or Ghost Bell. 3 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. While this card's not great this format, Nibiru comes up in a lot of rogue matchups. It's very important against decks like Hero, and it just kind of does a lot for you. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. I would main Dark Ruler No More over Featherstorm. Dark Ruler is one of the best cards at the moment. Just board breakers are insane right now, especially ones that can't be responded to. 1 Necroworld Banshee and 1 Zombie World. This is an auto win in the Flunderees matchup. You play it for your Beatrice, you send the Necroworld, activate Zombie World from deck, just wins the Flunderees matchup, wins other matchups that are very reliant on type. I ended up signing this in against Salad. They normal summoned Buffalo. I activated Necroworld from Grave, and they couldn't make Balinks, and they just had to pass turn. 1 Mischief of the Gnomes. This card's questionable. So the reason we play Mischief is because of Sprite, and it does kind of fuck over our combo if we use it. However, I think just the ability to stop Sprite plays outweighs Mischief making our combo unplayable. Because whenever I was gonna do the Mischief stuff, I just didn't add Lulu and I added Lao Lao instead, which allowed me to maintain combo even through Mischief. 1 Artifact Lancia. Yes, I'm only playing 1, and the reason I'm only playing 1 is because it works just like Scythe. You can send it off Beatrice, summon it off, or send it off Shooting Riser, summon it off Baron, Baron effect, summon Lancia, and then send Lancia from field to grave to lock your opponent out of Banished. It doesn't have to be just from hand, and that's what makes this card so good. And that's why I decided to play it, even if it was only at 1. 1 Token Collector, in case we ever hit the Sword Soul matchup. We actually did hit the Sword Soul matchup twice, and this card was extremely important during the Sword Soul matchup. And then 1 Change of Heart. This card never should have come off the ban list. Well, it's not seeing play right now, it's going to see play later on. And the more fusion decks come into the meta, the more generic fusions get, and the more generic links are, the better and better Change of Heart is going to become. If they ever put Change of Heart to 3, we're going to have a problem. And that's about it for the deck profile. I'm going to showcase the main combo that you care about that doesn't use Virtual World cards, because everyone knows Virtual World combos by now. And we're just going to show off the combo that uses the new card from Power of the Elements, which is Jam Dragon Drive. So this is a 2 card. If you have using your other cards, you definitely can make this combo better, and not just make it better, but you can also have it more protected. Because if you have other cards in hand, you can banish Enchantress from the hand, but by doing only the 2 card, you're going to be sending Enchantress later on in the combo, and you'll get into your Brave Engine late, so it's very susceptible to Ash. So you E-Telly, you summon out Xiamen, pretty standard, you know what Xiamen does. Xiamen adds Foxy Tune, and then Foxy Tune pitches itself and the Water Enchantress in order to summon Deernet. Once you do so, you activate the Enchantress in order to add a Rite of Aramesir to your hand, which you then proceed to activate and place Fateful Adventure. You can then Synchro for 8 here into Jam Dragon Drive, which you'll go Chainlink 1 Xiamen, or Chainlink 1 Deernote, target Xiamen, Chainlink 2 Dragon Drive, Chainlink 3 Fateful Adventure, Chainlink 4 Xiamen. A lot of people forget that Xiamen has an effect in the graveyard because you need to have a punk monster on board to do so. When it's sent to the grave, you can target a punk monster on the field and it gains 600 attack. So Xiamen on its own chain blocks your entire line. So you get your Draco back to hand off of Fateful Adventure. You then, off of Jam Dragon Drive, are able to send Nyan Nyan to the graveyard. Um, and then Xiamen gets summoned off of Deer Note. Because Nyan Nyan is already in the grave, by the time Xiamen gets summoned, you can trigger Nyan Nyan effect. And also, we're pretending there's a token on board. So now you can Fateful Adventure effect for a monster in order to add Griffin Rider, which pitches Draco back, and then Draco back re-equips. So now Griffin Rider gets to summon itself, and that's your 5 zones are all taken up. You have the token, Nyan Nyan, Xiamen, Dragon Drive, Griffin Rider. You can always put Dragon Drive in the EMZ if you need. So you synchro off the Xiamen and the Griffin Rider into Baron. And then you get to synchro off the Nyan Nyan and the token. Nyan Nyan gets banished in order to summon Shooting Riser. So now you can Chainlink 1 Shooting Riser, Chainlink 2 Nyan Nyan. Your Shooting Riser is now chain blocked by Nyan Nyan shuffling back Water Enchantress into the deck. And Shooting Riser gets to dump Scythe. And there's your 2-card Scythe lock. And on top of this being a 2-card Scythe lock, you get 2 pops off of Satellite Warrior, or you get to remake the Baron. And that's your main combo line. And that's it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you guys will find some use out of this profile. And yeah, have a good night.